Hello, my kindergarten friends. Are you ready for your spring week 2 art lesson? Last week we did something on just making a tree. This week we are going to be looking at an oak tree. So before we begin, you need to make sure that you have paper like your sketchbook or some kind of paper that you can draw on, a pencil and eraser, and some coloring supplies. Your learning targets for today: I can identify shapes in nature to help me draw. I can identify the details of an oak tree, and I can begin to draw an oak tree. Before we go too far, I'd like to take a moment and spotlight some of these really great student examples from last week, from Spring Week 1. These are some great trees that my friends have drawn us. Well done. So now we're going to take a look at an oak tree. Now this is a famous oak tree down in Brunswick, Georgia, called the Lover's Oak. And I'm not going to make you draw that, but I wanted you to see that oak trees can be very large in size. And if you were wondering what that gray stuff hanging down from it, it's called Spanish moss, and it's not a parasite. It's just another plant that lives in a tree and helps with the tree and has the tree as its habitat. Now this tree is in Brunswick, Georgia, and I've actually been down to see it. It's beautiful and it's huge. It's so pretty. But we're going to be drawing an oak tree that's a little bit smaller. Our oak tree is going to have an acorn, a leaf, and then of course the oak tree. Don't forget to give your tree a ground to stand on and the sky behind it. So let's look at our oak tree. This is a great example of an oak tree, and on the right you can see the acorn and the leaves. So now that you have seen the way these look, we are going to talk about how we draw them. Here's my example, again, from what you saw earlier. And we're going to use some similar methods that we did when we were drawing our other tree. We're going to start by drawing the ground. And we're going to use a shape, once again, like we did for our other tree. And that shape is the rectangle. And we're going to erase that line that's on the inside because that is behind our tree and you can't see it through that. And we're going to make another branch coming off the side. We're going to make a branch over here and a branch over here. Remember how we start this branch? We start it with a letter. The letter U. And you can erase this little spot that's on the inside. And then I made this tree branch come up, and I actually got this tree branch to split into two pieces because branches are usually lots of branches together, not just one big branch. They usually have a lot of little pieces coming off. And I'm going to do the same thing over here on this one, but I want you to look. There's a little bit of space. So I'm going to make a V right there, and then I'll have that tree branch come up. It's not a perfect straight line, but it's still a diagonal line. I'm going to come down, and then I'll add that other tree branch kind of going up like that. And then I'm going to erase that line right there. Now let's come down here and give our tree some roots. Kind of like we did the branches, we're just going to do the roots in a similar way, but they're a little bit smaller because roots go down into the ground. You don't see all of them. And we're going to get rid of that those corners. And now we're almost done. It's time to add the leaves. I'm going to draw bumpy leaves covering up that hard line. Then I'm going to erase that line. See how I went back over and drew in anything I missed? I'm going to add some leaves at the ends of these tree branches, make it look like they've got some leaves. And then I'm just going to keep bringing my tree leaves up, and we're going to make them fill up the top of the page. Now we're going to look at the acorn. The acorn starts off with one shape. Do you think you know what shape that acorn starts off as? It starts off like an oval. So I'm going to start an oval. But it's not totally an oval. There is a difference. These have, it's called a cap. It's really what it's called, an acorn cap, kind of like you put one on your head. So that means we're going to draw a line around the middle. And I'm going to make it come up and be a little square up at the top. I'm going to erase this part on the inside. And an acorn top is usually kind of square, but the bottom is round. It's even a little pointed. So you can add a little. And we got the little stem up at the top. And then it's got this texture on it. So I'm going to add the texture by making some crisscross lines. And I've got an acorn. And the last thing we need to work on is the oak leaf. Now, this one we can kind of say is an oval shape again, but it's a little bit of a weird oval shape. So let's draw a big oval, but I'm going to draw it lightly because I'm going to erase some of that. I'm going to draw a line down the middle because that is this part. I'm going to erase that line that's in the background. Have that come back. And now, if you look, it starts off in kind of a pattern. So down here, I'm going to go, it's kind of like the letter V. And then it makes a bump. And then it makes another bump. And it makes another bump, and it makes a big bump at the top. Ta-da. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'll make a big bump, another bump, and back to the beginning. Ta-da! And it's got these little lines on the inside because that's how the plant, or how the leaves, get its sustenance. And then I'm going to erase that oval that I saw, that I had back there, because that was just a guideline. Alright, so now that we've drawn all of our leaves in our oak tree, now it is time for you to work on coloring them. You can make any other little spots you want to add to it. If you want to add, you can add a bird's nest up there. You can add something else to it if you'd like. When you work on coloring it, make sure that you are coloring all of it. Try and keep your brown into the correct spots. Don't forget to color your branches. Color your tree leaves. You can color your acorns to look like brown acorns that have fallen on the ground, or green acorns like are in our near pod. Alright, that is your lesson for today. So this is your example picture again if you need to look at this one. And if you have any questions, you can email me. And don't forget to check out your Seesaw Art page folder. Thank you.